Now, it's scary to be an agent. You can get in trouble on behalf of your principal. So how do we protect them? Well, first of all, one of the things that you'll do is in your written agreement, you define how liability is handled. Like for instance, in typical leasing arrangements here in Harris County, the agreement requires the homeowner to carry insurance that protects the agent's acts as long as they're within the scope of the duties being performed for the principal, for the homeowner. So that's what we're talking about there, is defining that responsibility. Now keep in mind, you can create an apparent agency. So again, we want to do everything in writing, but if you act like somebody is your agent, then you may create an implied agency relationship. We can have this thing happen over at the hospital if someone comes in, appears to be the spouse, making all the decisions, and all this stuff, and then you find out that the person is the paramour, but has no official right. And you usually find this out when the children show up and say, "What's she doing here?" Right? Am I wrong? Okay. All right, yeah.
They'll try to say, "Oh, no, we're not going with that," but then the real wife comes, or they're in the process of divorce, and then the real wife comes, it's like, so wrong.
Oh, this is getting even better. Okay, we're hearing about the wife, and I'm thinking, this is like the girlfriend.
Yeah, sometimes
Then she says,
like
but the wife shows up and the girlfriend's there too.
And then she gets mad because she can't have the official, even though they're living together, but they're legally still married to the other. It's a whole mess, and then of course, it's terrible.
Yes, it is. And I don't do anything in that legal area, but I see it, and it's so sad. And I mean, there's no other word for it, but it's very sad. And I hate to see those cases in court. And again, I don't litigate anymore. I don't get involved in those type of cases, but I see them. And
Here, at least once a month, you'll see some weird situation where just the person can't speak for themselves, Sad.
Yeah, and it's not age-related necessarily. I think we think, elderly people, obviously elderly people should always have a durable power of attorney, but it's interesting because, I get first-hand stories from the Memorial Hermann Trauma Center.
That's my
Oh yeah? Okay. And what you hear over there, it's like, a perfectly healthy 38-year-old guy, and next moment he's got a, right hemisphere stroke, and he's paraplegic. It's just no justice, no prediction, and sometimes those cases are really difficult because they don't have the things that a lot of elderly people have in place because they don't think of it because they're young. And it's very sad. A lot of wasted emotional energy and a lot of resources in those situations. Certainly, if an unauthorized agent does something, but you say, "Oh, you know what? That's a pretty good deal. I'll take it." Ratification, just definition of the word, no problem. You have to have capacity. And remember, we talked about this in the contracts chapter. It's pretty straightforward. Minors don't have capacity. People with mental problems don't have capacity. So it's not that exotic. Just keep that concept of capacity in mind. Remember, the principals are supposed to be being briefed by their agents. One area where we do see a lot of fussing is this issue of briefing the principal. And this is especially important in today's disrupted real estate market here in Houston. As most of you know, the last 3 years have seen one of the biggest run-ups in the Houston real estate market in the history of Houston. What's happened is the market cooled down appreciably starting late 2015 when people began to realize that home prices were not going to stay up, and the oil prices were going to be a short-term dip. It was originally predicted to be 6 months, then 18 months. I heard on a report the other day, 2018 at the earliest for a recovery, and oil was $46 a barrel yesterday. So, I mean, really low. So what happens is that affects our real estate market. Well, here's where it gets into agents. So you bought into those TV and radio commercials about renting your house. So you buy your dream home, you rent out your former home, and you turn it over to a real estate agent to avoid hassle. Well, you need it to rent for $2,000 a month. The problem is that since you have rented the house, the real estate market dropped and its fair market value for rental is $1,750 a month. The real estate agent's burden is to come to you and to say, look, we're not dilatory. This is what we can do. This is what we're seeing. Here's the service. The burden is on the agent to do their research. A lot of this stuff's available to people. One, the multiple listing service. Multiple listing service has lots and lots of stats in it. The Texas A&M Real Estate Center does lots of stats also. Having the right data, going to the homeowner and saying, this is the best we can do in today's difficult market. It might get back to $2,000 a month, but it's not going to get there. This is what we're talking about. We're talking about the agent being responsible to the principal, making sure your principal knows the story, but that's part of your duty as the agent to deliver the information in a concise form. Now, tort liability, we're going to wrap up on this tonight. Tort liability is interesting because normally, if the agent is in their normal responsibility level, then you're going to have the responsibility for any injuries that happen and things like that. Remember, the cardinal principle of tort law is the deep pocket. So, and oftentimes the principal and not the agent is the deep pocket. But certainly as an agent, part of your responsibility of being a competent agent is to have have good insurance and be responsible, act as a responsible person and be careful. Now, intentional torts by an agent, generally speaking, are not going to be the responsibility of the principal. But having said that, our legal trend, as we've talked about already in this course, is toward making the business responsible for anybody who's related to you. It's your problem. Well, you negligently hired that person to do this job. You negligently brought that independent contractor in to drive deliveries and so forth. So kind of a tough situation out there. Folks,